Alright, y'all, now listen. So now today we got a real special YouTube video. I'm gonna have to make clips of this shit and put it on my X, my Twitter. I'm gonna have to put it everywhere. Real talk. Listen, we got a really good video today. Listen, I just made me a new Twitter account. Listen, can y'all please go follow? I just made that shit today. So if y'all please go follow it, I would be much appreciated. Now check this shit out. So now let's go right here. So you know how people be like, well, my chart doesn't really sound like. Now I'm here to address all of the key points on why it doesn't sound like you, but that doesn't mean it's not you, right? Because maybe it's just your interpretation, your lack of understanding, and your lack of depth that make you not really get to the actual point that you're supposed to be figuring out. Oh, okay, this is me, right? Now, what do I mean by that? So look at this. I just got a random birth chart up. There's nobody birth chart in particular that I know, but I just want to show y'all this shit. So listen, they are a Gemini ascendant, right? So a lot of times when people be like, "Hey, I'm a this, I'm a Taurus, I'm a this, I'm a Aries, or whatever," a lot of times y'all be looking up the superficial definition of what these things mean, and you really don't take into consideration what this shit actually means. Like you don't really know how to truly research what in the way you're supposed to be researching in order to figure that shit out, right? So listen, we're gonna come back to this for now, but now let's start with the actual presentation. My chart doesn't sound like me. You see right there me laughing intellectually. So now the belief that a birth chart doesn't reflect a person accurately often stems from misinterpretation, lack of depth, and oversimplification when reading it, right? So birth charts are more complex in understanding them, and their full depth requires an understanding of more than just sun signs or basic placements, right? So there is a vast amount of information in a chart, and missing or overlooking key elements can result in a incomplete or inaccurate understanding of how the chart manifests in a person's life, right? So I'm gonna give you a prime example, right? So now listen, do you see this sun sign right here? This person is a Virgo sun, right? This is in Vedic. That's what I use, Vedic astrology, right? That's what I use, Vedic astrology. Now I'm also really good in tropical too. Don't get it twisted now. So folks be like, I'm a Virgo sun. I don't really act like a Virgo sun. Well, this person more is more likely gonna act completely like a Virgo sun. So you know what? Let's try to change this actual date. Give me 1 second. Let's go to like June or some shit like that. Let's go to like let's go to like June or something like that. Hold up. So let's see what this person's son did. Okay, so this person right here is a Taurus. They might be like, I don't really act like a Taurus, right? So because first off, you just going off of your sun sign, right? Look at all these other planets that you have that actually represent you, right? So oftentimes, really just isolating one part of you when you are so many things, that should often literally can lead to a misinterpretation, right? Because you got to remember the whole chart is you, not just one section, right? The problem is a lot of people try to use this one section, like the one sun sign, say, "Oh, my whole life ain't a Taurus. I don't act like a Taurus." Saying a lot of superficial, like, look, Lord have mercy, just unintelligent, ignorant stuff, right? So what you got to understand is is this part in this aspect. This person is a Taurus sun, right? And they will have hold some Taurus sun characteristics. However, the house and look at the actual planet that's by it, right? So now they're a Taurus sun, but look, they got Mars sitting with the sun. So if they go right now and type in Taurus sun, what does it mean? They gonna be like, oh, okay, I kind of resonate with that shit. Whole time you a Taurus sun conjunct Mars at these specific 2 degrees. Each degree can represent something completely different. Just so y'all know that shit, you are a Taurus sun conjunct, meaning a blending of planets with Mars and the planet Chiron and the planet Mercury, right? So instead of you just researching the actual basic terminology on what you are and who you actually are, you're gonna look up the most generic definition of what it means to be a Taurus sun. The whole time you a Taurus sun, conjunct Mars, conjunct Mercury, conjunct Chiron, and it's inside the actual seventh house, right? And that's just one layer of that shit, right? So you're gonna find a basic generic version online, and you're gonna think astrology bullshit. And the whole time, in order to understand who you are, we have to look at every aspect: the ascendant, the moon, the sun, the Mercury, right? The fourth house, the this, the that. We had to look at a whole bunch of different variables, right? So this is what a lot of people feel like that they shit is not correct. But listen, we finna touch on the presentation I got, and we gonna pick it back and forth on it, right? So now, over focus on the sun sign, right? The sun sign is the most commonly known aspect of astrology, but it only represents a fraction of the entire chart. Many people only identify with their sun sign, which is just one part of the equation. The sun reflects the core self, ego, and identity, right? But it doesn't necessarily capture all aspects of a person's behavior, emotions, or life path. And that's what I'm trying to tell y'all, right? Now, deeper aspects. To get a full understanding, you need to consider the moon sign, which is a person's emotional or inner world, how people feel inside, how they perceive shit, right? The ascendant, you know what I'm saying, how other people look at them. They outward behavior, their persona, you see what I'm talking about? Their intelligence, the Mercury communication, the Venus, how they love, and just a whole bunch of so this is where the true core of astrology starts to really come into play, right? It's not the planets that's wrong. The way you're looking at shit wrong, and the readings you probably get are going to be bogus. Your chart is who you are all the way. Trust me. The thing about it is, who knows how to 100% interpret it to the full extent and don't miss nothing. Even I can't do that. My readings are like, I would say about like 93 percentile. Like I have a lot of reviews, and my readings ain't just personality based and shit. My readings are trying to get to what's going on in your life, and if you want to, and if you need to know certain parts about you that you need to correct and fix, then we can hop over into the personality aspect. My shit isn't solely about that, right? Now, so misalignment. If someone identifies with their sun sign, they might be missing out on a more holistic picture of themselves, right? Because what you have to understand, y'all, listen, you need this shit. You are this whole birth chart in a group. You are this whole entire birth chart in a group. You are not just the 12th house. You are not just your sun sign. You are not just the ascendant. You are everything. You know what I'm saying? Being littered across the actual celestial cosmic wheel. That's the truth, right? So a lot of time people think astrology bullshit because you can say, and then another thing too, personality traits can be so flexible, right? You got to remember, a Scorpio can act just like Aries. A Leo can act just like an Aries, right? Listen, some Gemini people can act very similar to Sagittarius, right? Because now that's where the personality astrology gets fucked up because it's so flexible, right? Why you think it's three different? You know what I'm talking about? So it's four different elements with three different type of signs, right? But those three different type of signs are still ruled by that one consistent element, right? You got Sagittarius, Aries, and Leo, right? They're all fire signs, right? So they all will share certain similar personality and character traits, right? So a person be like, I'm a Leo. I do the same shit as a Sagittarius. So astrology must be wrong. That's so a lot of people just the minds aren't deep enough. You know what I'm talking about? You're not inquisitive enough. You're not really looking at the shit the way it's supposed to be looked at, and that's why a lot of people don't resonate with shit. So now this is just from tropical astrology. I do Vedic astrology, which is about I'm talking about the mathematical alignment of how the actual physical constellations are divided into 12 parts along the actual ecliptic, right? All that shit, you really gonna be pissed off. You're gonna be like, hold up, I'm a Taurus, but now I'm a Gemini or Aries, some shit. You're gonna be pissed. You're gonna be like, I don't resonate with that because you don't even know how to look at it. Like people, everybody who's an Aries moon will not be 100% violent. Although Aries moon is a very violent energy in its own by itself, especially if it's aspected by like a malefic planet like Saturn, Mars, Rahu, or K2, right? But what if you got an Aries moon? No. Well, Saturn are coming down. So what if you got Saturn aspecting your Aries moon? You gonna research, be like, I'm an Aries moon. What does it say about us? Oh, I don't get mad that fast. Well, I don't do that because you have the planet of restrictions aspecting your actual moon sign, right? But now listen, hold up. Now let's finish with the presentation. Now, not understanding the aspects between planets, right? So now in astrology, the aspects between planets such as conjunctions, squares, trines, and oppositions, right? In Vedic, we call the oppositions mutual aspects, right? When this planet is over here, looking at this planet over here, right? In the direct opposite house. So if you got a planet in the fourth house, it's not only is it in the fourth house, it's looking and influencing your actual 10th house, right? And that's how it is for every single planet, right? So now, for example, someone might have a Cancer moon, emotional, nurturing, but a Capricorn sun, pragmatic and ambitious, right? So this could create a push-pull dynamic between wanting to be nurtured versus wanting to be self-reliant, right? Now, the missing complexity, right? So without looking at how the planets interact with each other, a person might feel that the chart doesn't fully represent them because of the conflicting energies that are not being taken into account. Do you see how much more in depth you have to really get in this shit so you can understand, okay, why I don't resonate with this shit? Why I don't understand? Why I don't? Now y'all starting to really understand. Oh, okay, damn, I'm missing a whole bunch of shit. So a person could come up to you and be, I'm like me. I'm a Leo in tropical astrology. I'm a Cancer in Vedic astrology. You come up to me and say you a Cancer ascendant. I bet you probably be crying all the time. You always easily emotionally hurt and shit, or whatever. And that a Cancer energy, especially the moon, it will be like that. But I'm not like that. But why am I not like that? Because I have other planets. Like my Mercury, the way I comprehend shit is in the air sign. I got Saturn in the third house of communication. So I have, and it's another air sign. So my whole way I approach information in general is very much, you know what I'm talking about, like analytical, intellectualized before I do get emotional. Now they will be right. I do have a certain emotional undertone to me, but if they go read the generic version, that's not gonna be me all the 100% way. You see what I'm saying? Then I would say, well, I think astrology is bullshit because this person over here is a Gemini and they act just like this shit. Whole time they a Gemini with a stellium, which are three or more planets inside of Cancer, or a Pisces, Scorpio. So you see how the personality aspect is extremely flexible. That's why people don't believe in this shit. And I fully understand, right? So now, not accounting for the houses. Now let's take a look back at that shit. You don't want to account for the house. So listen, you ain't just a Taurus sun, you a Taurus sun, seventh house. You were this, you were that. So you got to remember, a lot of times, you if you just say what a person just regular say, oh, you a Capricorn, you gonna do this. Some of that shit might be true. But what if that same person who's a Capricorn is standing next to a Sagittarius and they say, I'm not what this person do, and I do more of what you said they would do. They're gonna be like, this gotta be fake. I'm like, oh, see, and that's where people get fucked up at. I understand why we try to people get online and look up the generic expression, the generic meaning of what these signs mean, and try to take that generic meaning and apply it to every single person that they see with those that is born within that time frame. That's why people don't believe in astrology. They missing out on all the complex information, and that's real shit, right? Um, so now, each planet in the birth chart is located in a specific house, right? And this significantly changes the way its energy manifests in a person's life. For example, a person with a Leo Venus in the 10th house, I got my Venus and Leo in the ninth house, might express love in a much more public and career-oriented way, right? While a Leo Venus in the fourth house could express affection more privately in a home-centered environment, right? See how they both got a Venus and Leo, but the way it's being manifested and expressed in two different ways. I'm telling y'all, so now unseen influences, right? So if someone ignores the house placements, they might miss how certain traits actually manifest in their life and experience, right? Because the house shows us the life areas in which energy plays out, and ignoring them creates skewed understanding of the actual chart. Now, inaccurate time of birth, right? So now astrology is highly dependent on the exact time and location of birth, as this determines the rising sign or the ascendant. And the ascendant is the first house, right? Right here. The ascendant is the first house right here, right? And all the other houses fall in line after the zodiac sign that touches right here rise. And the ascendant is based off of, even from the Sirius Sedanta, which some of these tropical Vedic astrologers just refuse to ignore. And text between 47 to 49 says, in order to calculate this shit, you need the ascensional equivalence over the horizon. So basically, the ascendant is what zodiac sign is rising from the most furthest eastern point of the actual planet. And that's how you get what you actually are. And it changes every 2 hours, right? Due to the local, you know, it's my ecliptic. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think I'm wrong. So now let's go back right here. So listen, this shit can really, man, y'all understand. So now the ascendant is the mask we show to the world, right? How we engage with life, how we appear outwardly. You know what I'm talking about? Without the correct birth time, you might be looking at the wrong rising sign, which could it's and the thing about it is the ascendant. The reason I say mask is because you got to remember it's truly who you are. But the thing about it is it's just it. when people meet you, they might not know how you communicate just yet, your deep personal feelings just yet, your core beliefs just yet, unless you got the planets that rule over everything I said aspecting your understanding. They'll know that shit right off the bat. Or unless the shit planets I'm talking about, they aspect your career and your image and status, then they'll be knowing that too. But it's really the mass, not because it's the fake you. It's because it's like this after a person meets you, versus when they get to know you can be two different things. They can be like, damn, I didn't really know he or she was really like that. I just thought when I seen you, the way you look, the way you talk, I just thought you was like this. When now I got to know you, you like this. So it's not a mask and a literal, like I'm hiding who I am purposely type shit. Y'all understand? So now, overlooking the role of transits and progression, right? So now, astrology is not a static system. It's about ongoing change and evolution, right? So now, the transits, right? The transits are basically, you know what I'm talking about, where the planets are at currently in the actual sky, amongst the elliptic, right? Amongst the ecliptic, right? From Vedic, and then amongst the solstices and equinoxes for tropical, right? And progression, right? So what you gotta understand, y'all, listen, the evolving self. People might think their birth chart is inaccurate if they're reading at a particular moment in time without considering that your chart evolves. For example, the Saturn return, all y'all should know about the Saturn return, which happens around 29, often marks a significant turning point, and someone who has experienced that transition might not feel that their chart reflects their earlier self, right? Because you're steady evolving, right? However, the base nature of the chart still remains the same. That's why you could say, I don't do that anymore. You don't do that anymore, but the fact that you can say anymore means you've done it because that was a part of this life cycle period. You just evolved out of it. Important one right here, cultural or cognitive dissonance. Boy, I love this part. Sometimes people may read astrology and feel that the energy it describes doesn't align with how they identify themselves, either because they've been raised in a culture that dismisses astrology or they hold a strong resistance to its archetypes. That's the common theme. This is the common theme of why a lot of y'all lads don't want to believe that the chart is actually you, right? Because you already have a certain point of view about your actual self, right? You got to remember, a lot of times what you think about you may not be what and who you truly actually are. Like I said, you got to understand. You're gonna research what does a Taurus sun mean. Whole time you a Taurus, Mercury, Chiron, and Mars conjunct Taurus sun, right? So that's adding a full depth of layer. So if you're not looking this shit up like that, on top of you not looking up the aspects, because look at this shit, all these planets over here aspect all these planets over here, right? So now Taurus is not a spiritual sign inherently, but since it's being aspected by a spiritual planet in a transformative sign in the house of identity, you can become a real spiritual ass Taurus, right? So a lot of people just don't really look this shit up correctly and don't really understand this shit or know this shit simply because a lot of times it's this, and I'm gonna read it one more time, right? It's because you hold a strong resistance to its archetypes. I don't feel like the zodiac don't define us. You don't know what the hell you talking about. That's the truth. And you don't want a certain barrier placed on you, but the truth is a barrier is placed on you. And it's not a bad thing. That's just real shit. So now you got to understand. So now listen, there can be a cognitive distance between how astrology describes a person and their personal identity, right? Especially if it contradicts how they see themselves or how they will talk to see the world, right? So a deeper connection, right? It's possible that astrological themes are unconscious parts of the individual psyche and they haven't fully embraced them parts of themselves yet, meaning it's deep, deep down, you just don't realize it yet, right? So the chart may reflect hidden aspects of the self that you need to bring to your conscious awareness. Real shit, right? So now astrology is a tool for self-exploration, right? So you gotta understand now, sometimes individuals approach astrology with this is another good point too, with the expectation that it will provide them a simple, definitive answer about who they are. But astrology is more of a tool for self-reflection and growth. And also I forgot to add complexities, which I already mentioned earlier though. But now, so it invites you to understand the deepest potential patterns and challenges, right? About you in your life, right? So it's about learning and growing rather than being locked into a single identity, right? So now the dynamic process. Your birth chart offers insight into your innate tendencies, right? But it's how you work with those energies that create your life's path, right? So sometimes the parts of the chart that don't resonate immediately are the ones that you really need to be looking at maybe a little bit more, right? Under like real shit, right? So now let's go down here. So now the conclusion. So reading the birth chart with depth, right? So now the birth chart is a complex blueprint that shows us the entire map of who we are. It's not just about the sun sign or a few key placements, right? So it's about the interplay of all the elements within it, planets, houses, aspects, and transits. To get a deeper and a more accurate picture, one must understand this, right? Look at the full chart. Don't just focus on the sun. Consider the moon, the ascendant, and all the planets respective to their signs and house. Understand the aspects and house placements, right? Consider the timing and the life. This is what y'all ass really need to pay attention to. So yes, y'all, I just want to go live drive real quick and show you why a lot of people really don't feel like they match up and oh, it don't resonate. And then I'm gonna mess y'all head up even more. And I think in tropical astrology, you got something called persona charts, which are more layers. Draconic charts, which are more layers to who you are. But in Vedic, what I do, you get what you call Varg or divisional charts, right? So this right here will be considered your D1 chart, the basic overall chart, right? But in Vedic, you get like 15 more additional charts that complement this one, right? And they're all about different aspects from family lineage to past life connections, all type of shit, right? To understand why you are the way you are here and right now. So even with a regular birth chart, you cannot find every single one thing to one answer, right? You need the multiples of birth charts with accurate, you know what I'm saying, in-depth Sherlock Holmes precision way of analytical thinking and process of elimination to really find out what the hell is going on. So yes, y'all, I just want to put y'all ass up on game about this shit. So now it should be no more confusions or questions, y'all. So now listen, follow me on X. Like I said, I'm new on X. I'm trying to get out there, help me get out there. Listen, I got a whole bunch of content coming. I'm finna make a Patreon, a Gumroad. I'm finna be selling classes. I do review. I do readings. I do a lot of readings. I got like 200 reviews, and it's not capped, right? So now if you want a reading, hit me up on any of my platforms. The links will be in the actual YouTube video description, right? But other than that, I will holler at y'all ass later, man. Peace.